Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being the show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about OnePunch-Man Season 1, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So the opening is basically the gorilla giving us some background story on the House of Evolution, where it kind of came from. That the mad scientist behind all this, his name is, I think it's Genus, is how that's pronounced maybe. I don't know if it's supposed to be a play on or just supposed to almost be like a wink wink nudge nudge, supposed to be like the word genius. I don't know if it's meant to be like a play on that. He was like a very accredited scientist and wanted better for humanity in the world, but then like he went down the crazy route and no scientist would kind of respect him, and so he's like, right, if no one would listen to me, because for him, he's like, screw the advancement of humans. It's all about like kind of humanity's evolution as a species. And so obviously started experimenting on animals, but we do know he eventually did get to humans as well. Fact of the matter is, he started researching this stuff for like 70 years. And then when he kind of reached the pinnacle of his research, he found a way to make himself younger, and then he cloned himself. It's like, and this in itself kind of adds to just kind of like the craziness of this world that it's been around for a long. I mean, once again, I guess it's like I kept making the reference to like Kaiju number 8 because in that world, you know, it's not like fully clear. You know, there's little things here and there referencing like how long the Kaijus have been an issue in that world. In this world, it's like we don't know how crazy this world has been, like, and how long. I mean, to be fair, it's like on a smaller scale, you look at the Marvel Universe, it seems like pretty grounded, that, you know, especially if you compare like the MCU, you're like, oh, it doesn't go that far back. But then you start getting into the more celestial stuff and you're like, oh, the Eternals have been around forever. Oh, the Celestials have been around. So, you know, so we kind of get to that territory. So I'm wondering if the world of One Punch Man kind of falls into that category too. But either way, this is all for the purposes of his research that he's going so far. But I also love that while the gorilla was in the middle of explaining things, you have Saitama cutting him off like, yo, shut up. And even Genos being like, yo, my master wants you to explain things in 20 words or less. My thing last episode, I was like, oh, there's probably going to be a continuous bit of how Saitama has to tell Genos to shut up. But it's like, hey, Genos is... all you have to tell him something once, and for him, it's like, I know how my master operates in the little time I've known him. You need to explain this in 20 words or less. And it's like, he basically wants to experiment on your body. He's like, I'm not into dudes. It's like, no, master, he means to like, he wants to further his research by studying you. So we should probably remedy this situation. And Saitama's like, all right, let's go. It's like, wait, right now? He's like, yeah, because tomorrow I got like some shopping to do and there's going to be some discounts. I don't got time for that for tomorrow. So we need to handle it today. And I love that the gorilla was about to send a signal to Genos, but then like Genos came back and was like, hey, you know anything about like a rogue cyborg from like 4 years ago? But the gorilla's like, I'm the only cyborg that he's kind of worked on, so the cyborg has nothing to do with him. The gorilla was just left there too, so he's still alive, so I guess there's always a possibility we'll see him in the future. But we learned some interesting things. First and foremost, that Saitama can't fly. So his whole thing is probably like, oh, he can move super fast and he's super strong. You know, he's not like I never went into this thinking he was a Superman character. Like he had all these different abilities. Like, no, he's super fast and he's super strong. Is it Man of Steel that interprets Superman's flying ability? Like it's more like he's just pushing off the earth so fast and hard that he's propelling himself. So he's more like gliding rather than flying because you combine his power with the lower gravity of Earth. Is it Man of Steel that kind of explains his flying like that? So I guess that'd be kind of how Saitama would operate. It's just like, oh, it might appear he's flying because he's able to push himself so far and he just kind of glides through the air. But it's interesting to know, like, oh, he can't fly. And even his explanation of like, yo, humans can't fly. So I'm wondering, we're going to find out there's more to Saitama's power than what we think, because he explains how he got as strong as he did in 3 years. But him saying like, yo, humans can't fly. But it's like, I mean, I guess he means not like, especially how he came about his powers. But it's interesting because when we saw that flashback last episode, there was like a glint in his eye after he dealt with like that lobster guy. And I was like, oh, did something like spark inside of him? And we saw it a little bit too in this episode when, Genus like was kind of going in his mad scientist mode I think this was back before he aged up to 70. I think, or maybe it was after. But like he had this like green glow in his eyes. So I was like, did something like some like, is it almost like an X-Men gene unlocked in him or something like that? But it doesn't seem like that's the case, or at least Saitama's not aware of it. Not unless it's going to retroactively be that thing of, as the series progresses, it's not necessarily a retcon. Maybe it's just like Saitama believes himself to got his abilities one way, and then reality kicks in of like, well, there's actually more to it. I don't know if they'll do that or just be like, no, Saitama got the way he did just through hard work. But like I said, we'll get to that later. But they end up at the facility, which Genos had set up ahead of time, like, yo, at levels 1 through 8 of this place, we're going to put on high defense, throw out every trap. We never even got to see what happens, what it looked like on those floors either, because the moment they got there, Genos immediately, like, it's incinerated the entire place. Also burned, like, the area behind it, leaving, like, that cavernous, like, lump of the earth just, like, chomped up and scorched. And it's like, well, he's like, we could have just seen what was inside and what the bad guys look like, you know, but it's like, you know, Genos was like, oh, I thought we just like end this quickly. So they head to the underground facility, and there we have Genos with his creature Carnage Kabuto, and his human experiment, which even the other clones were like, oh, do we really have to? I mean, this guy is that strong, we might not have much of a choice. But it's like he's such a rampaging monster that he's too on the loose. And it is kind of twisted that, like, at first I was like, oh, are you sending out your clones as cannon fodder just to train this thing? But it seems like, I guess they're there to keep him in line, but like none of them are strong enough to keep him in line, so they just keep him getting ripped through. I mean, even I think it's interesting that Genos had the perspective of, well, you could kill me and it'll just be another clone that fill my void. So I'm wondering, is he even the original Genos anymore? Or did that one die at some point in time and he's just like the guy, like, I guess like whoever is in the next subsequent order picks up the mantle? Or is, like I said, is he still just the original who like DH and stuff? I'm so curious about that. I'd assume that, but maybe not. But obviously, Kabuto's the crazy type of like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to kind of let loose. And so Genos lets him loose. And I guess other than just like running rampant as like a crazed monster, why he bothered having like Genos like in his hand and squeezing him, heading after Saitama and Genos, easily knocked him out, sending him into the wall. And it's like, oh, you kind of messed up my pupil a little bit. So, hey, let's go to this wide open space for this fight. But Genos didn't take this whole thing lying down quick because he wanted to prove himself of like, right, I've got to be the one to take this guy down. But nothing he did, which you got to appreciate him jettisoning all over the fight. I couldn't tell. It seemed like for a moment like he might have been using like the fire in his hands to propel himself. It kind of reminded me of Suna from Reborn, if you've ever read that or watched that. Like he uses like these fire, like he can shoot off flames from like these gloves he wears, and he can use them to kind of like jettison himself around, kind of fly and glide. It kind of reminded me of that, but like I said, I can't quite tell if he was, I know he was definitely darting around and firing them ahead, but it felt like there were moments where like he was firing it behind himself to jettison himself, but maybe that's just my imagination. But once again, animation going crazy when he's like jettisoning around and trying to attack and can't do anything and just like get smacked and like ricochets all over the place. His fire attack got sent back by Kabuto's breath, comes back with the fuzzy hair. It's a weird reference to make considering this is going to be like, this reference is like from years after the fact. I assume so because I was about to make a Don to Don reference. It's kind of like Ken or Okarun, like in episode 2 of season 1. But I was trying to think, like, I'm pretty sure, didn't the manga for Don to Don start like 2017 or something like that? So, you know, but still, like, that's probably like the most recent point of reference I have of like someone ending up with a very perm style fro. But you got to give it up to him that it's like, no, I want to prove myself, especially in front of his master, because it's like, I don't want to have to rely on you. Like, I want to show you I can handle this. This guy kind of knocked me down, but I got back up, and I want to prove I can beat him, because the stronger the opponents he can beat, the more he feels like he's going to be ready to face that cyborg that killed his family that he's after. But when the time comes, Saitama's facing off against Kabuto, and Genis shows up because he's like, I want to see this. Everything's going to be worth it. All the pain my body's going through right now is worth it to see my work complete. Because for him, his perspective is humans have always been lesser than him. As a species, he always looked at humanity as a whole as lesser than him. And he wants to kind of reshape the world into the next step of evolution for humanity through artificial means. Because he's like, then me and the world can bask in that. It's almost like humanity is finally up to where he needs it to be, and we can kind of progress further with all of that. The fight between Kabuto and Saitama, for Saitama, it's like, all right, come on. You're obviously super confident. Please don't let me down. Don't be a disappointment. And so when he uses his super speed to get around to Saitama, but before he can attack, all Saitama did was turn, and it freaked him out. Kind of reminds me of that fight. I keep making a parallel, sorry. I mean, there's plenty of examples of it in anime, but in the same vein, it's like a little bit of that fight in season 2. I can't remember that one of the higher echelon claw members, like one of the like special ones. It's the dude who just like Mob just gives him like the glare, and he immediately takes off and run. Kind of has the same energy because Home Dude bailed. He went to the other side of the room to get away from Saitama, and Saitama's almost like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And it's like, in that one moment, every fiber of his being was telling him, this guy's deadly. If I wasn't careful, in that one moment, he would have killed me. So it's kind of the conversation about how did you get so strong? He's like, right, you want to know? He's like, well, Genos, you listen. And then Genos comes in too, being like, hey, I want to know too. He's like, fine. You got to stick to it no matter what. And he basically runs through his routine of 100 squats, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, like a 10-kilometer run like every day. Basically, no AC during the summer, no heat during the winter. And you kind of fight through it. You push yourself to the point that it feels like your arms are going to break from you doing so many push-ups. Basically, having like eat 3 meals a day and stuff like that. So... And then I love that everyone's like, really? Is that it? And he's like, yeah. And Genos' only takeaway was, you're full of crap. He's like, there's no way you did. He's like, that's just the bare minimum. That's a normal workout regimen. How did that lead to you? He's like, I came to study under you to become super powerful, and you're telling me that's it? He's like, there's no way that's the case. And he's like, I don't know whether you believe me or not. That's exactly what I did. And that's what I was bringing up earlier. I'm like, in his mind, that is all he did. Not in his mind, but like that is all he did. But maybe there is something deeper and secret to it, or we're just gonna find out. No, he worked out crazy hard. Maybe, like I said, maybe he just predisposed to like able to reach a level normal humans wouldn't be able to. But it's actually something interesting that Saitama brings up, and it's like, the thing that makes humans better than even some artificial thing is humans' ability to grow. I think that still puts Genos in a very interesting spot, because he was human, and once again, how much of him is still human, that it does allow him to go beyond the normal parameters of him being the cyborg that he is. But the human side of things is what makes humans great, is their ability to change. And so that comes in complete conflict and contrast with how Genos handles things and believing how humanity will evolve better. And so Kabuto's like, oh, you really made me think. You wasted my time. Fine, you're not going to tell me this secret. Fine, you're probably not that strong anyway. He buffs up. And I love how the room stylized from like being that white background room to like that red and black design, especially when he's laying into Saitama. He's like, yeah, basically when I go full throttle like this, I go full murderous mode, I can't calm down for an entire week, so I'll be killing until next Saturday. And Saitama's like, oh, what? I was like, I knew it had to have something to do with the day of the week, because I was like, what else could it be that he's kind of acting like that? So he's getting flung around the place, literally getting ricocheted off of stuff. And he's like, I made a grave mistake. This guy talking about he's going to be killing for a week till next Saturday, and that'll be a week from now, meaning today is Saturday. And he's like, I missed the bargain deals. And just while he's thinking about that, he punches through the guy. To be fair, he was so confident about dealing with all this because he thought the deals weren't until tomorrow. and just in one fell swoop, it's all over, and he's literally kind of having a breakdown in the middle of the floor, like, no, I missed the deals. And then Genos had to come over and be like, yo, master, it's okay. Like, the deals go until like 10 p.m. We've actually got a couple hours. He's like, oh, we can still make it. It's like, yeah, if we run, we can still make it. Cool, just run. And I don't know if it was like Tama who punched a hole through the wall or whether it was Genos who like blew a hole through the wall. But Genos' takeaway from, oh my God, who is this guy? What is this guy? It makes him reassess. He's like, no more evolution experience. He's like, going forward, I'm the one that needs to change. So something positive came from this. So maybe Genos going forward will be a mad scientist, but a mad scientist for good, even though he thought, but he was like, he was conceited with selfish need to like try and advance humanity because he felt like humanity hadn't caught up to him, and now he sees the massive gap between what human pinnacle of greatness in Saitama could be versus anything that he made. Like something he poured everything into, believing he created something crazy and powerful. Like his scientific advanced like evolution like paled completely and utterly in comparison to, you know, a normal human advancement in the form of Saitama. So yeah, we'll see. So the fact that he's still alive means we will probably see him in the future, and he'll probably be a changed character for the better. How he'll potentially come back into the story, we'll have to wait to see. But that group that shows up at the end of the episode, who are like, well, in the post credits, who are like, oh, this is this cyborg caused all this havoc. It's like, oh, it must be pretty powerful. So I wonder, is that like a hero organization that's going to try and grab him up? I wonder, did they ever find out about Genos' like facility, or after all that, did he abandon it? Because he said he wasn't going to do those experiments anymore. So like, he probably just straight up abandoned the House of Evolution because, you know, probably didn't bother taking anything. He probably just left it there and just bounced with all of his clones. I could see that being the case. So, because they didn't, I mean, not unless they didn't find the facility, but like Saitama did like tear off like the top hatch to it, so the stairs down would have been exposed. So it must be he just ended up leaving. So we only saw them topside, but maybe they did some investigating down below in the basement area. So maybe next episode will give us some clarity about that. Maybe give us some answers on like what happened on that front. But I'm really interested to see where things go from here. And I'm sure Saitama made it in time, but I'm curious what he got from the bargain deal. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.